I want to start today with a very specific, like a really visceral feeling. You know the
Oh, I
one,
think I know where you're going with this.
yeah, the alarm goes off, you open your eyes, and you just mentally scroll through the list of things you have to do today.
Right, the project at work that is totally stalled.
Or the gym session you have skipped 3 times.
Hmm.
Or the studying you swore you would do. And your brain just, it basically hands you a formal resignation letter.
It doesn't even try to negotiate. It just says nope.
It is literally like, to whom it may concern, I quit, good luck with the body, I am out.
Yeah, that is so relatable.
And usually we interpret that exact moment as a character flaw. You know, we lay there staring at the ceiling thinking, I have no discipline, I'm just lazy, I am broken.
Which is absolutely the default setting for most of us. We completely pathologize the exhaustion. But the deep dive we are doing today suggests something completely different.
Really different.
That feeling is not a lack of character at all. It is actually a signal that your definition of resilience is mechanically broken.
And to fix it, we are looking at a really unexpected source today. We have got a transcript from the English Leap podcast, hosted by a duo named Anna and Jake.
Right.
Now, I know what you listening might be thinking. Wait, is not that a show for people learning English as a second language?
Which might seem like a strange place to dig for deep psychological insights on resilience. You would expect maybe a Navy SEAL memoir or a CEO biography.
That is exactly what I thought. I honestly thought we were going to be talking about verb conjugations or like how to order coffee in a restaurant.
Right. The basics.
But as I went through this material, I realized that learning a language as an adult is basically the perfect laboratory for studying failure.
Oh, absolutely. It is embarrassing. It is incredibly slow, and you want to quit almost every single day.
Every day, it is high-friction skill acquisition in its purest form.
Yeah.
And honestly, whether you are learning Spanish or trying to learn Python or training for a marathon or honestly just trying to be a better parent, the emotional cycle is identical.
The exact same.
Anna and Jake are not really talking about grammar here. They're building a framework for what to do when you hit the wall.
So let's get into that framework, because I think most of us, when we hear the word resilience, we have a very Hollywood idea of what that looks like.
Oh yeah, the montage sequence.
The montage, exactly.
Yeah.
The guy running in the rain, drinking raw eggs, never sleeping.
If you stop, you lose. If you cry, you are weak. If you are not grinding 24/7, you are failing.
And the source material calls this the scary version of never giving up. It is deeply rooted in what we might call toxic hustle culture.
Yeah.
The underlying belief is that human beings should operate like machines. You know, input work, output results, zero downtime.
But Anna and Jake just tear this down immediately.
They do. They argue that if your version of resilience requires you to be a robot, you have actually already failed, because robots are quite brittle.
Wait, they break?
Exactly. Think about material science for a second. Something that is incredibly hard and rigid, like a stone wall or a piece of cast iron, it can take a lot of pressure, sure, but once it hits its limit, it just snaps. It shatters into a million pieces.
And you can't put that back together easily.
No, you cannot. That is not resilience.
Yeah.
That is just rigidity pretending to be strength.
So they introduce a much better metaphor, which I really loved when reading through this. The tree in the wind.
Yes, this is the visual you really need to hold on to. Think about a tree in a massive, violent storm. The wind is just howling.
Right.
If that tree tried to act like a stone wall, if it refused to move even an inch, it would snap right in half. But a real tree bends.
It might bend all the way over until the branches are literally touching the grass.
Exactly. It looks like it is losing. To an outside observer, it looks like it has been completely defeated by the storm.
But because it bends, it does not break.
And then when the wind finally stops, it stands back up. That is true resilience. It is elasticity, not rigidity.
So in this context, giving up is not about bending. It is not about taking a nap on a Tuesday or crying or having a bad week where you just eat pizza and watch Netflix instead of working out.
No, not at all. And that is a huge distinction for us to make. Bending is a survival strategy. Giving up is when you decide to snap the trunk yourself.
Right.
It is when you take the dream and throw it in the trash just because the wind was too heavy for a moment.
The source also draws a really interesting line between resilience and perseverance. I have to admit, I usually just use those words interchangeably. Like, oh, he's very resilient, he persevered.
Most people do use them that way, but the distinction they make is super helpful here. Think of it this way. Resilience is the elasticity we just talked about. It is the ability to survive the crash without shattering into pieces.
Okay.
Perseverance is the quiet consistency that comes afterward.
So resilience is the defense and perseverance is the offense.
In a way, yes. Perseverance is not the sprint. It is the fact that you show up again on Tuesday, even if you are moving at 10% speed. It is the sheer refusal to leave the field.
So resilience basically says, I did not break, and perseverance says, I am still walking.
Perfectly put.
But let's be real for a second. Why is the walking so hard in the first place? Even if we don't break, the walking part feels completely impossible sometimes.
It really does.
The source uses this metaphor of the uphill battle. You are walking up a very steep hill, but you are also carrying a massive, heavy bag.
This is where we really need to validate the struggle, because so often we gaslight ourselves into thinking the journey should be easy. The bag in this metaphor represents obstacles.
External things.
Right, external things. Your job is demanding, your kids are sick, your bank account is low, you are taking care of a relative. Those are real heavyweights. You cannot just mindset them away.
You can't just think positive thoughts to make a sick kid better.
Exactly. And then you have the hill itself and the slipping.
Right, the setbacks. That is the ice on the hill. You take one step up, you slip back two.
Like studying for a whole month and then totally bombing the exam. Or eating perfectly for 2 weeks, stepping on the scale and seeing the number actually go up.
Which is the worst feeling in the world. And when you combine the heavy back, the obstacles, with the slipping, the setbacks, you enter a state the source calls losing heart.
That is such a poetic phrase, losing heart. But the feeling itself is terrible. It feels like the engine just completely died on the highway.
It is emotional bankruptcy. They used the persona of Sarah in the source material to illustrate this.
Right, Sarah.
Sarah works on her feet all day in a shop. She comes home, cooks for the family, cleans the house. Finally, at 9 p.m., she sits down to study English. She really wants to improve her life. But her eyes just start closing.
She physically cannot stay awake.
And the dangerous narrative that what the scary version of resilience tells us is for Sarah to look in the mirror and say, I am lazy. If I wanted it bad enough, I would stay awake.
But she's not lazy. She is completely empty.
She has hit rock bottom. And this is where the hosts, Anna and Jake, get really vulnerable. They share their own rock bottom moments. And honestly, this is where the transcript went from just good advice to a feeling of like, wow, I feel seen.
Because they did not just lecture from an ivory tower. They admitted to their own massive failures.
We absolutely have to talk about Anna's meltdown.
Yeah.
Because I have been there. I think everyone listening has been there at some point.
Are you talking about the space language incident?
Yes. So she is trying to learn a language. She finds a video that everyone on the internet claims is easy English. It is supposed to be for absolute beginners.
Right.
She watches it, and she cannot understand a single word. It sounds like alien gibberish to her.
That is a very specific type of panic. It is not just confusion, it is deep isolation. It is the feeling of, everyone else can do this basic thing, so I must be fundamentally incapable of learning.
And then right after that huge blow to her ego, that space language feeling, she gets a test result back that is objectively terrible.
It is the double tap.
Yeah.
Exactly. Subjective failure plus objective failure, right in the same week.
And her reaction was so relatable. She wanted to break up with English. She was ready to write the resignation letter we talked about earlier. She basically said, it's not you, it's me. Actually, no, it is you, English. You are impossible.
But look at what she did next. And this is exactly why the tree metaphor matters so much. She did not force herself to sit at the desk and study through the tears.
Right.
That would be the toxic hustle model. And if she had done that, she probably would have burned out and quit forever.
Correct. She took a strategic retreat. She took 2 full days off. She watched silly videos in her own native language. She just let herself feel sad.
She did not try to positive vibes her way out of it.
Exactly. She just felt the feelings. And here is the crucial key. She did not chop the tree down. She just let it bend.
She asked herself a very simple question. Do I actually want to quit? Do I want to stop learning?
And the answer was no.
So she came back, but she changed the terms of engagement entirely. She stopped trying to be a hero. She went to micro commitments. 10 minutes a day, 1 short video. She lowered the bar all the way to the floor so she could easily step over it.
She realized that consistency beat intensity every single time.
And then there is Jake.
Jake is my absolute spirit animal in this deep dive because his rock bottom involved cookies.
Ah, yes, the full-time cookie tester career path.
Which, let's be honest, sounds highly viable.
Okay.
I would honestly apply for that job on LinkedIn right now if I could.
It sounds great, But he was in that classic overwhelmed state. He was trying to do a university degree, hold down a demanding job, go to the gym, and see his family all at the same time.
And he felt like he was failing at absolutely everything because he was not excelling at anything.
He was judging his own behind-the-scenes footage against everyone else's highlight reel. He was so burned out he was about to quit his degree. He literally went to his teacher's office to drop out.
And she saved him with one single sentence.
She did. She looked at his work and said, "You are actually on the right track. You just want results too fast."
That is a massive paradigm shift.
Mm-hmm.
We so often confuse slow with failing.
Speed is not the same thing as direction. You can be moving at a snail's pace and still be heading straight for the finish line.
Right.
If you stop, you never get there. If you crawl, you eventually do.
So Jake adopts this entirely new philosophy.
Yeah.
He takes the old saying, we all know when the going gets tough, the tough get going.
And he completely remixes it. He says, when the going gets tough, I get snacks.
Snack power. I absolutely love this concept.
It sounds like a joke, but psychologically speaking, it is brilliant. It is a technique called temptation bundling.
How does that work?
Well, he says, I get snacks, but then I get going for at least 10 minutes. He is pairing a reward, self-soothing, with the cookie with a micro-action of discipline.
It cuts the dread entirely.
Yeah.
You are telling your brain, look, we are going to have a cookie, we're going to feel good, and we're only going to work for 10 minutes.
Right.
It totally disarms that resignation letter we talked about at the very beginning.
Precisely. You do not have to be a machine. You can be a human who likes sugar and naps, as long as you keep the machine running on low power instead of shutting it off completely.
Okay, so we have the philosophy, bend like a tree. We have the real-world examples, and a strategic retreat, and Jake's snack power. But the source actually lays out 3 tactical moves. Very specific tools to use when you feel like quitting.
These are basically the break glass in case of emergency tools.
Tool number 1 is make the battle smaller.
This directly addresses paralysis by analysis. When you look at a deeply messy room and you think, I have to clean this whole house today, your brain just shuts down.
Yeah, it is too much.
The dopamine hit of finishing is too far away, and the upfront effort cost is just too high.
They use this great ocean metaphor. If you stand on the beach and stare at the vast ocean of English grammar, you will never swim. It is just too big and scary.
So you just put your feet in the water.
Exactly. Just touch the water. There was a great example they gave of a student who listened to a podcast only while brushing her teeth.
2 minutes. That is it.
That was the only rule. Just 2 minutes while holding a toothbrush.
Well,
But because the battle was so small, she could not say no to it. It grew into a rock-solid habit because the barrier to entry was practically zero.
I think this applies to absolutely everything we do. If you want to write a book, do not sit down and try to write a whole chapter. Just write one terrible sentence.
Right. Or if you can't bring yourself to do a full workout, just put on your sneakers and stand in the living room for a minute.
It is all about maintaining the habit loop without draining the battery. You prove to yourself that you are still the kind of person who shows up, even if you only show up for 120 seconds.
Tool number 2 is change the story in your head. This is really about the soundtrack playing in the background of your life.
We all have a narrator in our heads, and usually that narrator is a total jerk.
Oh, absolutely.
If you are struggling, the narrator is saying, you are falling behind, you are not good at this, why is this taking you so long?
It is exactly like watching a comedy movie, but with horror movie music playing over it. It completely ruins the experience.
The facts might be totally neutral, like, I have a lot of work to do today, but the music makes it terrifying.
So you have to reframe that internal dialogue. And to be clear, this is not positive thinking where you just lie to yourself and say everything is perfect and sunshine.
No, it is accurate thinking. Instead of saying, I am stupid, you accurately say, I am a beginner.
Instead of saying I am failing, you say I am learning. And learning is fundamentally supposed to be messy.
One reframe that really stuck with me from the transcript was shifting from you are behind to I am just moving at my own speed.
Oh, that immediately drops the cortisol levels.
Yeah.
You can just feel the relief in that statement.
It essentially turns your internal critic into an internal coach. The work itself is still hard, but you are not fighting yourself and the task at the exact same time. You are removing the heavy friction of shame.
That is huge. Shame is heavier than any workload you will ever carry, which leads us perfectly into tool number 3. Don't fight alone.
The secret big group. The brain loves to isolate us when we are struggling. It whispers to us, everyone else has this figured out. You are the only one struggling. You are uniquely broken.
Which is statistically impossible, but in the moment, it feels completely real.
Hmm.
They mentioned a commenter in their community who genuinely thought she was the only person in her entire city who could not master English.
Right.
And she finally posted that feeling online, and hundreds of people replied immediately saying, "Me too."
The advice they give here is shockingly simple, but effective. Send a text. When you are at absolute rock bottom, text a friend and say, "Today is hard. Please remind me I can do this."
And the response they suggested getting back was perfect. You were tired, not useless. Drink water.
We need external validation when our internal validation is broken. It anchors us back to reality. It reminds us that being tired is just a physiological state. It is not an identity.
So to recap the tactics, we have shrink the battle, change the soundtrack, and text a friend. But there is one final strategic insight in this transcript that I think is honestly the most important one of all.
It is the concept of changing the shoes.
Yes, it is about the difference between the path and the dream. Walk us through this, because usually we are taught that changing the plan is a sign of ultimate weakness.
Okay, imagine you have a big goal to walk 100 miles. That is the dream. That is your final destination.
Okay?
You start walking, but the shoes you picked out for the journey are way too tight. They are severely blistering your feet. The pain is just unbearable after mile 2.
In the toxic hustle mindset we talked about, you're supposed to just keep walking until your feet literally bleed, because pain is weakness leaving the body, right?
Right, that is the old mantra. Or the alternative, you just give up entirely and say, well, my feet hurt, so I guess I am not a walker. I guess I will never see the 100-mile mark.
But the source argues for a crucial third option: change the shoes.
Exactly. The shoes represent the method. The walk itself is the dream.
If your method is studying massive grammar books for 3 hours a night, and it is making your soul leave your body,
Which definitely happens.
then that method is simply the wrong pair of shoes. It does not mean you are incapable of learning English. It just means you need to switch to listening to podcasts or reading short stories or having casual conversations. You just change the tactical approach.
I love this concept because it gives you full permission to quit the tactic without ever quitting the goal.
That is exactly it. Staying the course does not mean stay on this highly specific, rigid schedule I made for myself on January 1st.
It means keep heading toward the destination. You can change vehicles, you can crawl, you can take a scenic detour. Just do not stop moving toward the final coordinate.
That is deep wisdom, not weakness. Staying loyal to the dream actually means being ruthlessly disloyal to a plan that is clearly not working for you anymore.
100%. Flexibility is literally the only way to survive the long haul of any major goal.
Before we wrap this deep dive up, I do want to quickly nod to the vocabulary gems we picked up along the way. Because even though we're obviously not here for an English lesson, the idioms they use to describe resilience are really evocative and powerful.
Oh yeah, bounce back is a great one. I like that one a lot. Like a rubber ball.
It implies that hitting the hard ground actually provides the kinetic energy needed for the return upward.
You need the down to get the up.
Exactly. Then there was light at the end of the tunnel. It is a great reminder that the darkness you are in is just a tunnel, not a sealed cave.
It has a built-in exit if you just keep moving forward.
And of course, the uphill battle and telling someone to stick with it. It acknowledges the heavy gravity of the situation. It validates that, yes, this is genuinely hard and that it's perfectly okay.
So if you take nothing else away from this, remember that.
Yes, here is the big takeaway for you listening right now. If you are waking up staring at a resignation letter from your own brain today, do not sign it.
Do not sign it. Just take a break. Bend like the tree in the wind. Go eat a cookie.
Here's my final challenge to you. I want you to find one thing you are trying to do today that feels like an impossible mountain. One task that is making you want to just throw in the towel.
And find the one drawer version of it.
Exactly. What is the 2-minute absolute lowest barrier version of that task?
Find it, do that 2-minute version, and then declare total victory for the day.
That is it. That is the deep dive for today. Keep bending, keep moving, and we will see you next time.
Stay resilient.